Historically bad. That is the state of New York football. The Jets and Giants have a combined worst record since 1960. We'll talk about that and much more. It's the Jake Asman Football Show, and it starts right now.
Oh, yeah. It's time for the Jake Asman Football Show. Brought to you by BetUS. Expert betting odds and fantasy stats. So let's get into some NFL football. Brought to you by our friends at BetUS. So get your questions ready. Here's your host, Jake Asman.
Here we go. It is indeed the Jake Asman Football Show presented by BetUS. Sign up right now and take advantage of a 150% sign-up bonus with your first deposit, a 125% bonus with your second and third deposit. So start betting on all sports, including the NFL, college football, and a whole lot more. Shout out to BetUS for being our sponsor. I want to talk about the state of New York football. It is an abject disaster. And how bad is it? Well, the combined records of the Jets and the Giants is the worst it's been since 1960 from a winning percentage standpoint. That's how bad it is for both the Jets and Giants. Now, if you haven't been paying attention because you're a Jet fan, you're not following the Giants or vice versa, the Giants are 2-11, the Jets are 3-10. If you do the math, that's a .192 winning percentage. ESPN has a whole article on the state of both of these franchises. And since I live in New York City and I work for ESPN New York and I talk about the Jets full-time on YouTube, I wanted to dive into just how insane the ineptitude is for these franchises. 3 years ago, both the Jets and the Giants were 4-13. That was just 3 years ago. So now, you fast forward a few years removed from that, the Giants have a brand new regime in place. It's not working. The Jets were in year one of their regime, Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas and company, and both guys have already been fired. The Giants appear like they're going to be potentially cleaning house. Joe Shane, their GM, Brian Dable, their head coach, could be out of a job. And if that happens, both the Jets and the Giants are going to be seeking new general managers and head coaches in the same offseason. That's how bad it's been. If you look at the last time the Jets and Giants both had winning records, you got to go all the way back to 2010. Tom Coughlin and Rex Ryan were the coaches. Now, right now, the 5-21 combined record for the Jets and Giants would place both teams with the lowest winning percentage amongst any combined record since 1960. In 1976, the two teams went a combined 6-22. In 1996, the two teams went a combined 7-25. In 1973, the two teams had a combined record of 6-21-1. And you heard me say it just a few years ago, 2021. Both teams were combined 8-26. I mean, right now, you look at where these teams are at. It is the least amount of wins ever. And there's still games to go. But if the Jets don't beat the Jaguars this week, I looked at the Jets schedule, the Giants schedule. I don't know if there's any wins coming. That's how bleak it is right now for New York football. Crazy, but true. And the question really is, how did we get here? And I think the biggest reason how we got to where we are with these two teams is the unstable quarterback situations for both. Now, Aaron Rodgers is playing this year, but clearly he's not what he once was, and he's not good enough anymore to overcome the environment surrounding him, which I believe is the worst coaching in the NFL. The Jet defense going from top 5 to, since they fired Robert Saleh, a bottom 3 unit in EPA per play. The Giants, I mean, it doesn't matter who the coach is, it seems like, when your options are Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, and Drew Lock. But that's part of the Giants' problem. These were their decisions. The Giants' ineptitude, I think, has a lot more to do with personnel than it does talent. I think the Jets have more talent than the Giants. But the issue the Giants have is you don't trust the leadership putting the team together. I don't trust the Jet leadership, but at least you know they're moving on from their current leadership, and there'll be new people involved here. But, man, you look at the state of New York football. It's as bad as it has ever been. It's so bad that the fans of the Giants are flying planes over MetLife, asking John Mara to fix the dumpster fire that is the Giants. But the biggest reason why the Jets have been able to go now 14 seasons in a row without making the playoffs is how bad they've been offensively more than anything else. Because the Jets have had some good defenses, and it's still not good enough. Since 2011, the Jets average a league low 17.5 points per game. Whereas the Giants' issues have been, I think, specific to the talent on their team, and I think just trusting Daniel Jones for far too long, if you really want to break it down, over the last 6 seasons for them. I mean, it's just such a mess. And the only way you get back on track is if both these franchises hire the right coaches and general managers. It's the only way. You know, people look at the Detroit Lions, and we talk about the Lions like they're now the model franchise. Think about that situation that Brad Holmes, their GM, and Dan Campbell inherited. It wasn't good. It wasn't an attractive job. But in a few short years, they turned it around. The Houston Texans were on their third coach in 3 years. Then DeMeco Ryans showed up, stabilized things. They hit on C.J. Stroud, and now they're pacing to make the playoffs for the second straight year. There's countless examples of teams turning it around, but the key is to get the coach and quarterback right. That's the only way to have sustained success. Really, it starts with the coaching for both these teams. You have to get that right to have any chance. You also need a quarterback if you're going to win big, but you can't stabilize things unless you have the right coach. And I think this is very specific to the issues the Jets have with their talent. They don't have enough coaching, leadership, despite having talent that I think is certainly better than 3-10 talent. But man, you just think about how bad it has been for the state of the New York football teams. It's hard to fathom. 2-11 Giants, 3-10 Jets. And the last time they both have been good in the same year is 2010. How's that possible? In a league built for parity. In a league built for teams to turn it around quick. The worst teams get the highest picks. You come in last place, you play a last place schedule the following year. There's a salary cap, so the good teams can't keep all their good players forever. And the Jets haven't made the playoffs since 2010. And the Giants have made the playoffs just twice and got pretty much soundly beat in both those years. 2016, they were one and done. And 2021, or 2022, excuse me, they made the playoffs. But, you know, after beating a Vikings team that we then learned was grossly overrated, they then got blown out by Philadelphia, and that was it. No winning season for the Jets since 2015. It's just hard to believe how bad it's been. And the only way to get back on track is coach and quarterback. And you look at it from a Giant perspective, right now they're in range to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft. They got to hit on that guy to turn it around. Then you could do what Washington did. If you're going to go out there and turn your franchise around, you got to hit on the quarterback. You need the coach, but you need the quarterback, especially if you're the Giants and you're picking that high. This might be your best chance to get said quarterback. Think about it. Daniel Jones was the 6th overall pick. That bought him so much time when I think most people were like, is this guy any good? So if you miss on a quarterback that high, it sets you back because you're waiting for that guy to develop and become the guy. And if he never does, you find yourself screwed like Brian Dable and Joe Shane might be. Crazy. And from a Jet standpoint, they might have the more talented roster, but what's the plan at quarterback? The Jets right now are picking 7. Are you taking the third quarterback at that point? Are you maybe waiting till the second round to do it if there's no one you love? Even if Aaron Rodgers is there next year for the Jets, at this point, he's probably a bridge quarterback at best. You can't rely on him to be a top 10 guy, not based on what we've seen this year. So there's a lot of questions with both these teams, but really, I think the best way to get back on track is have a real coach. Mike Tomlin, for years, has not had great quarterback play, yet the Steelers have a winning record every year and have a chance. Starts with coaching. You have to get the coaching hires right. And it's crazy because I thought the Giants had the right guy in place in Dable, but we can't look at these last 2 years and truly feel confident in that being the case, can you? No way. No way, no how. Quarterback and coach, you need both to win it all. You need at least one to have a chance to be competitive. Jets right now are in a spot where they're already looking for the coach and might be looking for the quarterback. And with the Giants, you don't know. Are they cleaning house? Definitely. It feels like it, but time will tell. Hit the like button if you're tuning in. You're watching the Jake Asman Football Show. Appreciate everyone tuned into the show. The other topic I wanted to talk about is how many teams could actually win the Super Bowl this year. See, I don't think there's a ton of great teams in the NFL this year. And I'm not just specifically talking about the fact of the matter is of how many bad teams there are, right? I mean, look at the Tankathon standings right now. Look how many 3-10 teams there are in the NFL. Look how many 4-win teams and 5-win teams there are in the NFL. Cincinnati won last night, so they're actually 5-8. But you get the point. In the past, you finish with 3 wins, 2 wins. You're picking in the top 3. The Browns are 3-10 right now. They're slated to pick 8th. That's how many bad teams there are this year. A lot of it, I'm sure, has something to do with some injuries. But, man, there's never been a season I could recall where you had the haves and the have-nots. And I look at the standings and the top teams in the league. And this might be a hot take, but I'm going to say it because I believe it. I believe there's only 3 teams that could win the Super Bowl this year. 3. That's it. The 3 teams are the Detroit Lions in the NFC. And in the AFC, I believe it's Kansas City and Buffalo. That's it. One of those 3 teams. They're winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't believe in the Philadelphia Eagles. I do not believe with how Jalen Hurts is playing, it's good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think there's real issues there between him and A.J. Brown that's coming out this week after the comments that Brandon Graham made. I'm not believing in the Eagles. Now, things change. And we've seen with football, you get in, you do have a chance, right? We watched a 9-7 Giants team win a Super Bowl, a 10-6 Packers team win a Super Bowl. And you get in football, you could go on a run. But I look at it right now, I think this year there's been so much of the haves and the have-nots. I'm not buying Philly. The only team I buy in the NFC are the 12-1 Detroit Lions. I'm not in love with Green Bay. Minnesota's 11-2. I don't see it. Prove me wrong. I don't see it. I see one team winning in the NFC, and that's Detroit. And then the other teams in the AFC, I mean, look, Kansas City, I mean, they find ways to win. It's insane how they do it. I think they could be beat, but it's tough to pick against them when they're 12-1 and have a 2-game lead now for the number 1 seed. It just is. Buffalo's 10-3. I got questions about their defense. I got questions about Sean McDermott in crunch time. But this has got to be the year they do it. If not now, then when? Pittsburgh's 10-3. I don't know. I have a tough time picturing it. I don't believe in the Texans. I think the Ravens are overrated. I think the Chargers are at least another year away. Denver's got a rookie quarterback. I just don't see a whole lot of great teams. I see 3 teams that can win it all. If I had to pick another team, I would maybe throw in the Ravens because of Lamar, assuming he could figure it out in the playoffs, but there's a question there. I just don't believe in Pittsburgh or Houston. And then I look at the NFC. I guess you could argue Philadelphia or Green Bay, but I don't see it. And I don't buy it with the Vikings. It's just a feel thing. I'm not buying it. Comments, questions, super chats. Cut the line on this show. How many teams could actually win the Super Bowl? Bang Mateo writes in Detroit, Kansas City, Philly, Buffalo. So you got 4 teams. I don't know. Something about Philly concerns me. Maybe I should include Philly. But I'm not there just yet. BC says Lions 1 and done in the playoffs. That'd be shocking, BC. I think they're the best team in the league. Now, there's enormous pressure on them to get it done after reaching the conference title game last year. Detroit has to at least get to the Super Bowl, something they've never done. Remember, Detroit's championships are pre-Super Bowl era. That's how long ago it's been. Allen believes 4 teams can win. He's including the Eagles. It's fair. I don't love what I've seen from Philly. Specifically what's come out this week. I have concerns about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and that relationship. But it's fascinating. BC, Kansas City's got a great chance at a 3-peat. They do. It's just tough to do it. But if any team could do it, it's them. And this is the year to do it. There's not a ton of great teams. So I definitely could see that being the case. Ultimately, I guess we'll see. But it feels like one of those years where more so now than ever, you have the haves and then the have-nots. Agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. Once again, I want to thank BetUS for being our sponsor. If you're betting on anything, do it with BetUS. They are my official sportsbook. They are the presenting sponsor of the Jake Asman Football Show. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I'll be back on Friday with Cole Thompson when we preview Week 15 and make our picks against the spread. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everybody. And, of course, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and continue to tune in to the Jake Asman Football Show presented by BetUS.